Vlog number 23, November 2nd, 1708, day 2. So, the subject of stupidity. Yes, everyone's favorite subject. There's a lot of stupid things and stupid people in the world, right? That's what perspective says, as talked about in video number 22. aka the last one. And yet, where does stupidity come from? Well, to answer that, I think we have to go back and talk about self-will. And self-will is essentially selfishness. And this is the primal impulse of the human animal, is to fend for itself, to look out for its own benefit. And essentially it's self-gain. It's like, I want this, I'm going to go get it, I'm going to fight for it, and etc. And if anybody gets in my way, I'm just going to strike them down. They're going to be below my feet because they're inferior to me. And I am superior. That's right, I'm a superior being. And all that such nonsense. Yes, it's basically a very primitive, primal perception. And that is what selfishness brings. It's a sign that the spirit that is incarnate within is still in a very immature state. And as such, it creates essentially situations that, well, after going through all these things and trying to get what it wants, it creates situations that essentially impede its own progress. It obstructs its own progress. And, of course, by extension, it obstructs other people. And what I mean by obstruction is it obstructs its own soul growth back towards their higher power, ascending out of this, what they would likely consider to be the hellish realm of Earth. And because of these actions, they essentially start to breed stupidity. And stupidity is just an ability to essentially acclimatize knowledge to the point where one can create an upward spiral of growth out of their perceived limitations. And because it's selfishness ultimately that creates limitations, and also simply lack of knowledge and how to get out of the limitations. So, unfortunately, that is one of the biggest causes of stupidity today, is just simply people just getting too selfish. And of course, a lot of the selfishness is also due to fear, because many people just simply fear dying, or there's just fear in going broke, fear poverty, fear starvation, etc., which makes them more self-focused, which may very well imbalance them on the spiritual orientation scale of service to self, service to others, or selfishness or selflessness. But if people start to help other people with the idea that helping somebody else ultimately helps yourself, because whatever we put out there, we get back. So if we want to help ourselves, then just simply help other people. It's really that simple. And if more people did that and began to see that they can help themselves that way, then stupidity would not be such a big deal. And especially the perception of stupidity, because there's this perception of it is really the big problem. The internal selfishness, the immature selfishness says, well, you're stupid, which means you're inferior. You're inferior to this so-called person above you, which is a negative perception. And that negative perceptions always have this top-down view of greater than and lesser than. Whereas a holistic, positive perception doesn't have that view. Rather, it's more like we're all learning something, we're all stupid somewhere. Otherwise, why would we be human? Why would we be here in the first place? Incarnate souls gotta learn something, right? So we're all stupid somewhere. So I was like, okay, so you're stupid there. Maybe I can help you out and release some of that limitations that's, bothering you. It's a better perspective on things rather than just saying, oh, yeah, okay, you're selfish, so whatever. I'm not going to help you out because you're selfish, or I'm just going to help myself out. It's like, or, well, you're probably just going to betray me. Oh, I'm just going to, do this. It's all this crap. It's like a lot of the problem is perspective is warped here. Perspective of stupidity is warped by fear. And it comes back down to the current problem with society. As of this video, America's in a kind of a dark place, and a lot of people are living in a lot of fear. And unfortunately, this really just ricochets within the inner kingdom or the spiritual realm inside of people. And this includes perspectives and also includes the spiritual orientations, because oftentimes when going gets tough, people who put up a front, they may have, let's say, a fear of being stupid, right? So they put up a front, they try to appear intelligent, but when going gets tough, this facade essentially collapses and people can see right through them, or they're just seen for who they are, and they oftentimes will panic. Sometimes they'll run away. Sometimes they'll put up a intimidation tactic, like a mad monkey jumping up and down but not going to really do anything kind of thing. But yeah, curing stupidity doesn't happen by pretending you're smart. That's an acting thing, and acting again goes back to the unconscious programming that's found from watching too many movies and not having the self-awareness of that programming attempting to work through the mind. And ultimately, we're all responsible for reprogramming our own minds as part of our inner kingdom responsibilities, which people think they don't, these responsibilities don't exist apparently. And they just go through life doing that. So yeah, we're all stupid. So, I wouldn't worry about it very much. Look at me. I'm autistic. I'm an autistic adult. I've got stupidity in many areas. One of which is obviously in the relationship department, whether friends or otherwise. It's just the way I'm built. I don't know if anything is going to happen to me in the future or not. I don't even know. But let's just say that since the understanding of knowledge depends on the intimacy of that knowledge, my intimacy is kind of like put forth in different areas, so to speak, than they normally would be in relationships. So yeah, that's just one example. And another example is I suck at math, and I basically blame this on an accident I had when I was 2 years old, when I smashed my head on the corner of a clothes drawer, and I had to go to get some surgery on my skull, and it happened right in the area of the brain where there's language and math development. And I just so happened to have language and math difficulties to this day. And of course, people think, oh no, you're fine. You're fine. It's like, but it's obvious. Some of these people just can't face reality. It's obvious. So yeah, there's going to be obvious limitations like that I have to deal with, but there could be ways around it. And maybe I just have to change my perception as to how to fix it. And instead of just internally damning this incarnation by saying, oh, you're going to suck at trigonometry no matter what, or you'll never learn French because French is such a difficult language and nobody wants to learn it anyway because it sucks. Or, you're not going to get a partner or relationship or whatever. All of that could still happen. To some degree. But it all depends on how you look at it. Of course, if someone is severely disabled, that's a completely different story. Then it comes down to, perceptions and making sure one's perception is not dragging them down and looking at things a more healthy, holistic, open-minded view. But yeah, bit of a tangent. But yeah, it's still related to stupidity. And a lot of the stupidity, again, comes from narrow-minded thinking. Basically just seeing their goal like an arrow to the target without being aware of what is around said arrow, or being aware of all the factors that may influence the arrow's path to the target, such as some weird wind that may come out of nowhere. Perhaps a flying squirrel will nab it because he didn't see the flying squirrel. Or perhaps there's an earthquake and the tree just falls down and then it just doesn't hit anything. It's just like being situationally aware of one's thoughts, being situationally aware of one's perceptions, or situationally aware of just one's environment and where they live and how that environment affects the way they see life and affects their thinking. All of this plays a role. And with stupidity also, when stupidity comes around, it's also a good reminder that, all right, there's different perspectives to life. All right, I have to become more aware of something because this stupidity is limiting me, which means that I'm the problem. So I have to figure out what caused this blockage to occur and see if I can get around it, instead of just going around other people telling them they're stupid, which is more of a essentially coping mechanism to keep themselves from saying they're stupid because they don't want to look inside themselves at their own stupidity. So there's way too much of that going on out there. I'm tired of it. If people would just like look at themselves and say, okay, so I made this blockage on my own, instead of just blaming other people for blocking them and just having this, reflect off each other. Why not just say, okay, well, myself has just created this blockage and now I'm limited and AKA stupid. So how can I become more, can I look at things a different way to a point where I can become knowledgeable of how to get out of said limitation and, move on with my life, So yeah, that's a good summation of stupidity. Yeah, I guess that's the video. So thanks for watching and have a good day.